What is going on, guys? Dark Gaming here, and I've got a question for you. Riven Mods. Let's rant about that. So, first of all, major spoilers if you didn't know, in the new update for PC, War Within, there is this new addition known as Riven Mods. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my opinion on these mods, even though I didn't even get to touch them. I did see these mods, I saw a lot of them actually, and I think I've got a pretty solid opinion as far as what I think about them. So, I'm gonna make this a really quick video, and I'm gonna go ahead and say Riven mods are a good addition to the game. I do see where people come from when they say that they might break the game, that yeah, you might re-roll them and get nothing in return because it'll just be the same thing that it was previously, or maybe worse, instead of better at all times. And truth be told, yes, that's quite a not so good course for Warframe, where you might re-roll something and it's not as good as it was before, but it's actually worse. Now, if you continuously re-roll these and get better things, I think that'd be a more nice approach. And I saw various opinions going around about the subject, and in overall, I believe that Riven mods should stay not exactly as they are, but pretty similar. Simply because it's a nice addition. Let's not forget that Warframe, in the end of the day, it's still an MMO, even though it has continuously upgrading path when it comes to mods. Like, you're not gonna put ranks into a mod and get something worse. But even still, I do believe that they should stay, maybe have some tweaks on them, but not completely alter them to the point that they are absolutely different. Now, why do I think that they should stay perhaps a little altered, but not too altered? As you know, I am a Borderlands player. I have played the game and I loved Borderlands, especially the way that the game actually worked. Like, I understand that having various numbers, let's say, for the lack of a better word, on a mod, it's definitely not the best of things, because as you continuously progress to pick up more and more Riven mods, you'll notice that someone eventually is gonna have a better mod than you do. But still, I think that's more towards what an MMO is supposed to be like, instead of what Warframe is right now. Now, again, Warframe is not that sort of game that you can say, oh, it's an MMO, oh, it's a third-person fast-paced action shooter. It's a mix of everything. Like, even the developers know that by this point, but I still think that having this added into the game will definitely be a nice approach to something new. Something that could, in theory, bring a much bigger variation in builds. Like, right now, all you have is literally the three mods, like the holy trinity for mods. There is always specific mods that you're going to have on your weapon, no matter what. Like Hornet Strike, Lethal Torrent, and Barrel Diffusion for pistols, and as an example. You're gonna have Serration, and I forgot the other one, but the multi-shot mod. You're gonna have those no matter what. Maybe there are those very, very few exceptions that you're not gonna have those mods, but let's face it, pretty much 99.99% of builds consist of having those mods in the mod build. Like, it's basically how it is. It's just not going to change if all you have is set values for the mods. Hence why I think that having varied values is definitely going to be better in the long run. Yes, in theory, if you're making content for the game and you're trying to make builds for specific weapons for people to use, I understand that having varied values on a mod for that weapon will definitely make builds a lot harder to make. Like, the Tonkor build is an example. Like, right now, many of the previous Tonkor builds are kind of not needed when you consider that there's the Riven mod for Tonkor. I understand that. Like, I understand that with the Riven mods, making builds for a weapon is going to be much harder. But at the same time, what's the point of having the capability for someone to mod a weapon the way they want to when pretty much 99% of people are going to mod that weapon the way you show them to, which is the same exact build that you have on screen on that video. Yeah, you say that this is a build that suits my playstyle, hence you should mod the way you want to mod, the way that it suits your playstyle, because this is how it suits mine. But even with that, I can see that a lot of people basically run the same builds that you show them. They don't attempt to actually create their own builds, which is not good considering that this is an MMO. Well, kind of. Again, you can't exactly specify Warframe as a type of genre, but even with that, I do not like the fact that people just run the same builds over and over again, and I can understand where the developers are coming from with the idea of Riven mods. Yeah, it's a little bit quirky, like the fact that you can get a worse Riven mod if you re-roll it. That's definitely not a good idea. That definitely needs to change. If they can somehow make sure that you can always get something better, but at the same time, it's always different stats, like maybe, as an example given right now, the first Riven mod you had was crit chance, crit damage, and base damage. Then the second mod you got was crit damage, status chance, and base damage. Sure, it depends on the weapon whether or not that's actually going to be good or if it's going to be absolute shit, but still, that's going to lead to more builds. Like, eventually, weapons that weren't viable for crit might actually become viable for crit, or weapons that weren't viable for status will become viable for status, simply because these mods will exist. And that's where I think it's a good idea to have Riven mods. Again, they do need a bit of working. They are not perfect. Nothing is perfect as soon as it enters the game. Hence why they are waiting for the community's approval or disapproval of the Riven mods. But even so, I think that the community is overreacting to how the Riven mods are. Yes, they need a bit of rework. No, they must not change the fact that they are random stats. I don't know whether or not the ones that said these stats should be the same are thinking about the builds, and of course they're all content creators, so they must know something more than I do. But even with that taken in mind, I think that in the end of the day, Warframe's an MMO, people should attempt to make their own builds, and yeah, Riven mods should stay. the random stats is a good idea. I mean, Borderlands had that all over the place, and I didn't mind playing Borderlands like that way. Honestly, just stay as is. A little bit different, but